story and your faithfulness, and we just got to feel like we just got to cheer on and go, and however we can champion you. How do we connect dots and introduce people, and and just see what God does. So it's for us, it was always like this is a God-sized story, and if it's going to happen, God's going to have to show up and like make this happen. Because, man, if it was up to me, it's like, well, this thing's going to fall apart, right? You're smart enough. You're the engineer, like so you have this.
I don't know about the smart part.
You have
yeah.
spreadsheets, that you work through, and like you love that kind of stuff. So it was just really humbling to see all of that come together, and then to. I guess the last thing would be then being affirmed in like the organizations that then moved in. It's like this is what they were looking for, because this puts them literally next door to the people that they're serving. So instead of having an office off of Olive somewhere, like they actually get to have an office here, so that was even affirming that, because it was all theory, right? Well, maybe there's some organizations that would move in, and that would be really cool. But they actually did, and that's pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. So here's the last thing I will ask you while I have you on the stage and in the hot seat. If anyone tonight were to walk up, say, Randall, we hear you telling these stories, and that sounds well and good, tell me the real reason why you're in it for the marathon. And why should we even consider joining that marathon? What would you say to someone, like if it was just a one-off private conversation and they asked you something like that?
Yeah, I would say a couple of things. One, anything of lasting substance is usually a marathon. The hot flashes, sometimes they work out for a long time, but usually they're just kind of hot flashes. So for it to have substance and depth, it's a long work. We're doing this for our grandkids, right? But then also, I would say, as a church and personally, like we also have to have a more regional view of the St. Louis metro area, and so I'm not just concerned with my neck of the woods. We got to have a larger view of St. Louis, and if St. Louis is going to change, if St. Louis is going to fix things that seem to be deeply broken, yes, policies and those things need to be addressed, but really the local church has got to lead the way. So anything we can do that champions the local church, like is a win for the city and a win for the region. And so we're just that's why we're in it for this is a kingdom thing, and it's a St. Louis thing that's what we're interested in.
Awesome. Thank you, Randall, for joining me up here and giving me a little bit of your Monday evening. Can you all give Randall a hand and thank him for being here? So, as mentioned, you need people who tell you you're not crazy, even though what you're doing is crazy. It's crazy. It doesn't, as Randall said, when we first did the math, it didn't math. 1 + 1 didn't equal 2. It didn't make sense. But you need not only one somebody to believe that, you need a group of somebodies to believe that. And so the next person I want to chat with is another person, entity, family that entered what I call our crazy and decided to be in it for the marathon, and give you a little shift of perspective of what that looks like. So please help me welcome Mr. Kyle McClennan up and talk. So, they see the logo up and see title and all of that. But if you would just take a moment and tell people who you are, who Brace is, all of that good stuff first.
Yeah, so my name is Kyle McClellan. I grew up here in St. Louis. Important question. I went to Hazelwood West High School, just so we can get that out of the way right now. I know everybody was really wondering that. But I was born and raised here in St. Louis. had a pretty cool job for a while. I played for the St. Louis Cardinals, got drafted out of high school by the Cardinals, spent 6 years in the minor leagues, and then finally in 2008, my dream came true. I got to pitch for the St. Louis Cardinals on opening day here in 2008. So pitched here for 5 seasons, was a part of the 2011 World Series championship team. Left here, went to Texas for a year, and dealt with 7 arm surgeries and 6 arm surgeries, and my career was over. And so I was 27, retired, and trying to figure out what was next. During my time here in St. Louis, my wife and I, who's here, we wanted to get involved. We wanted to find something that we could get involved with, knowing that my platform at the time of playing was the height that it was ever going to be at. And so we met with the Crossing and Pastor Greg and said, hey, we have the church we attend, we have some ideas, or actually looking for ideas of things we can get involved in, and had a great conversation with Pastor Greg, but nothing really came of it. It just wasn't the right fit. And so my wife and I, we did some searching. For 3 years, we did research. We were searching. We were trying to find something we could really grasp onto, which led us, of course, to Haiti. So we started in Haiti through a friend of ours and did community development. I didn't really understand we were doing community development at the time, but we worked there for 2 years. And there was a lady that's in the room here tonight, I'm pretty sure somewhere, that we came back from that and said, hey, we really want to help. Bridget and I really want to help in St. Louis. Like, this is, like, we kind of took a detour to Haiti. Like, we really wanted it to be in St. Louis where we first got involved with. But God had other plans. And now looking back, I think it's very clear why we went to Haiti first. And she said, man, you got to meet Pastor Andre. Pastor Andre is a future leader of the community, has this great vision for what he wants to do and change the community. And so that led us to you. But we had been going as an organization for about 2 years at the time. Brace for Impact 46 was the organization name. I had to put my number on it, number 46, because Sully landed the plane in the Hudson. And when he did, he said Brace for Impact. And so I didn't want to get sued by Sully, so we put my uniform number on it. So that's why my uniform number's on it. And that's the story of, Brace for Impact, which led us to you about, Bridget and I were talking on the way over here about 9-10 years ago.
So I hope you see a pattern of, first off, longevity. We believe in relationships because it takes time for them to grow, but also this work takes time. And so it was interesting because when I first learned about you and Bridget, you happened to be in the place where I learned about you, and I was told I had just missed you. Like, I had just walked out the door, and you had just walked in the door, right? And so when they said, hey, you need to meet, for us, we were somewhat ready. We had a business plan, and we had some things laid out of how we were hoping that the dots would connect to begin this work, and particularly entering the housing phase. So as I open with that story, we knew we needed to get into housing to stabilize community. We didn't know how we were going to do it because at that time, no banks, no anybody would give us anything. I will tell you, Tabernacle CDC started in 2014 with a $2,500 gift from the church board who said, here it is, Pastor, this is all we can give at this time. May the force be with you. God bless you. Now, even in 10 years ago, $2,500 was not a lot of money. So, when you start talking about rationing it out, we had to do that. And so we wanted to make sure we were in line and ready for if we met someone or someone's who would connect. So if you don't mind sharing, what was that like when we finally got a chance to meet, me, you, and Bridget?
Yeah, so we're at Original Pancake House in Chesterfield, sitting there, and it's like, hey, so what do you got? And on purpose, we didn't disclose a lot about ourselves to you. Our website at the time was very plain, and it was just Haiti, really. I mean, there was no talk about North City or St. Louis or anything, and so essentially I just said, hey, what do you do? What are you looking for? And when I talk about the reason I think we went to Haiti first, you have to understand from our standpoint, we're not experts at this, right? So I just played baseball, and we have a heart for helping people, but I don't know how to do that. And when we went to Haiti, there was a partner of ours that had been working in Haiti for over 20 years and had experience there. And what we learned in those 2 years was the value of local leadership. If you really want to make this work, you got to trust and you got to find local leadership that can be on the ground every day and can execute, because I can't do that. And I don't want to do that. That's not my specialty. And so I think we learned that in 2 years, and we had success there because we have kids that grew up in a children's home that then started their own nonprofit and have a children's home that they provide for kids, which has grown into all these other things. And we've gotten to sit there and watch because they know the exact needs of that community. I can fly down there and say, hey, I think you need this and this and this and this. And they would say, yeah, we do. But before we need that, we need these things here. And those are things that I would look over because I don't live there. I'm not there every day. I don't walk on those streets. I don't do that. And so we really learned that, and it really sunk in for us over the 2 years. So when we sat down with you, it was easy. It was like, here's a guy that has a vision and a plan. And I don't know if you remember, I can get to that in a little bit, but of what he wants to do for the community, but he just needs help, right? So, man, we've all been there, right? We all have these great ideas or these things, but it's like that one person that comes behind you and says, hey, yeah, you should do that, and we'll help you with that, and we'll help you navigate those roadblocks and those barriers, because they're definitely going to come, and people are going to tell you you're crazy and all that, but we'll help you with that. We're not going to run from that. And so I've had that in my life. Hopefully everybody in here has had that person in their life. And so I think at that time we sat down and just said, man, this is somebody that truly wants to change the community and is somebody that people are going to get behind, but he just doesn't have the platform, to do that. And how can we help with that? How can we bring resource? How can we champion, like Randall said, how can we just cheer you on and be a great partner? And so for us, we left that meeting. Bridget and I don't even know if we got to the parking lot. It was like, well, that's our guy, right? She's like, yeah, I mean, pretty much. So we reached out to our board and said, hey, we found our partner. We still need to navigate through some things. And so I said we dated each other for a while. We didn't jump right into things. We dated each other for a while. It's like, hey, send this over and send this over and send this over. And then I think the irony of the circle is, and then we found out that then we need to sit down and talk with the crossing, right? Because then you were like, hey, the crossing's involved in that. I was like, well, I go to the crossing. I know the crossing people. And so we sit down, and they're like, hey, we would love for you guys to be involved in this. And I was like, well, you're involved in this? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, well, that's awesome. So, how can we all work together in this and not step on each other's toes? And ultimately, you were how do we help? How can the crossing help? How can we help? And how can we make sure that this works together? We start to put together a little team, and everybody works in their corner and does their thing, but works for the common good of you, and the community and the people that you want to serve. So for us, it was pretty easy. It was just, I think, experience that we had been through and the things you were saying, and it was just like, man, this is the perfect fit. We were looking for somebody that we could champion for and elevate so that they could go and transform and make a difference.
So he's right. We dated for a while, right? Nothing wrong with dating, right? We date for a while, and so all the dots begin to really connect. Things begin to align, and so you get to the point where the rubber meets the road. Like, okay, now how do we activate, right? So these next couple of questions are kind of around it. How do we activate? How do we move forward? So we decide together to host like a small event where we're going to invite people in to hear what we're looking to do, and hopefully they'll support it. And I'll never forget this. We did it downtown, and the building we're in, you can look out, you can see across downtown. And one of the things we kept sharing with people was like, when you look out that window, the neighborhood we're talking about helping is only 3.3 miles away. And so I highlight that because sometimes people think that between downtown to North City is this faraway land. No, they're neighbors. We're neighbors, whether some of us want to be neighbors or not, we're neighbors, okay? We're not going anywhere, so let's just get used to being neighbors. And so we shared that with people. And, we kind of got in a huddle afterwards and was like, well, we think it went all right. How do you think it went, You don't know who's going to step into what. And so after that, some others started to step into that. And one of the things I would say what I think dating did was allowed us to build a bond. So they're not just, Bridget and Kyle are not just Brace for Impact to us. They are family. And so you can talk about the struggles of things. And so one of the things was like, okay, where do we go from here after this fundraiser? What do we do? And will we be able to do it a long time? So incidentally, for us, we were thinking we'll purchase this one house, 3807 Ashland Avenue, 2 doors down from our First Church location, and we'll just see how this goes. That was our thoughts. Talk a little bit what that was like for you and Bridget after that fundraiser and raising some money and work, construction actually started.
Yeah, well, I mean, for us, the dating process is so important for us because we need to make sure. Look, we're going to go ask people in our network for funding and resource, and we need to make sure that we can validate that we can justify that, we can answer those questions intelligently, and be trusted. Because our organization's on the line, right? And so we're putting our neck out there, and we just wanted to make sure that we had everything. We understood. Me and you, I don't know how many shows we went on where we'd go, sit down with people, and we just fed off each other and learning each other's stories. And so when we did present that and people jumped in, and we started, our ask was $10,000. And our idea was it might take 12 different companies or organizations or people to do this, but we got to start small because we don't have a track record. So we got to get people to kind of, jump in the pool a little bit, but not all the way in. And we did. We had 4 companies that came through and said it, and then we had a private donor that came and said, hey, I'm gonna finish it because we got to get that first one done. And once that happened, that changed the whole thing, because then all of a sudden construction starts going, jobs are being created. This is going like the way we had thought, and before you know it, we're done with the first house, right? And so then we follow back up with those people that donated, and it's like, hey, we're on to phase 2. We didn't even have a phase 2. We just created it. It was like, hey, Andre, hey, send me some, what do you got in the pipeline? He's like, I don't know, I'll put something together. And we're like, we just put phase 2 on the cover and sent it out, We're like, we're rolling. We want to keep it going. But what that did is, and somebody had said this before, and I use it all the time, people like to be on a winning team, right? So I come from a sports background. I can relate to that. People, you want to cheer on winning teams, right? You want to be on the winning team. You want to support the winning team, and we won. We went to those companies and said, who are on phase 2? They're like, what happened with phase 1? We're like, we got that done. And they're like, what do you mean? We only gave you $10,000. And we're like, yeah, but we got other people that got in on it. We put a team together that secures your donation a little bit more. And then we started leveraging those against each other. I'd put their names down there on the paper and say, these are the ones that did this, and they did this price, and you're down here on this one, and you should come up to this one. And we started playing the game, but we started winning, and the team started growing, and that allowed us to do more and more. I say all the time, like, our organization, we're the fundraisers. We're not the implementators, but our partners is what makes us continue to succeed, right? Our partners deliver in Haiti. Our partner delivers in North St. Louis, to where we can continue to grow and bring more and more people into what we do. And now it's an easy sell. Back in the day when we first came down, it wasn't as easy as that. People are like, you're going to do what? Now you drive around, you're like, well, these are all the houses that have been done. We got this. I mean, you guys got to walk through it today. It's a totally different thing now than it was 10 years ago. But it had to start somewhere. And it started with that first house, and that's where we got our momentum and started going. And then from there, people wanted to be a part of it.
So I will share something very transparently that the relationship did for us. He mentioned, a sheet with names on it and sliding. We didn't have a sheet and we didn't have names. And so Brace for Impact helped us get a sheet and get names. I remember when he made that call, I was driving, I was like, yeah, I'm just going to sit in front of the computer and put something on there. And we made phase 2 real big. Like, we just made it in bold letters to make it seem like it was making a real bold statement. But it opened doors to rooms that we just didn't get in, to be honest. And so as we begin to get in those rooms, and we call it road shows, we go on these road shows and talk about what we're doing and hope that people would, buy in. Bridget and Kyle put their names out there because relationship had been built and trust had been built. And so now you talk, things are rolling, you've got momentum. Talk a little bit, and this is the last thing I asked you before I want to say something to you and Bridget both. Talk a little bit about after things are rolling, like you said, it's an easier sell. What is it like for you to see this basically come from this dry place where you drove around, like you said, it was nothing here, to what you see today.
Yeah, I mean, every time I come down, I usually, come down now where the new construction's at and just look at that. And, that was a field that we went and had meetings with to be able to acquire from the city with the vision of, tearing down the houses that weren't able to be rescued and saved just to maintain it. Just to maintain the grounds and have the grass cut. So because the property across the street we had purchased, and we wanted to make sure that those people had, a nice place to look out across, and which led to owning that whole street and now the incredible new development that's going on there. To going down Ashland, I think we've done 8 houses on that street, and the quad, the biggest one that we just completed, really finished that street, which was incredible the first time, when we met and came down and got to see everything. And now seeing the vision of like, okay, what's next? What's the next street that we can partner together on and help go after and continue to bring stabilization for these families? And then, the houses are cool. I mean, they're great, but it's the stories of the families, and knowing that like kids are waking up in beds. Kids are going to school consistently, the same school consistently. Kids have a home to come back to after school. Those types of things. I mean, when we talk, we're after the kids organizationally, right? We want to change the trajectory of their lives and their generation, and that we think comes from getting them as soon as we can and getting them on that path. The house is just a bonus. I mean, it's really cool that we get to be a part of, seeing that brought back. But yeah, I mean, it's just incredible to come down here and see it and know the history of this community, the history of this community and what it means to St. Louis, what it means to the people of this community, and then to be a part of watching it come back. I mean, golly, just driving back over here and say, there's people everywhere tonight. It is like, man, it is, like you said, it's a vibrant community now, and there's still a lot to go, but it is on the way, and there's so many cool things happening and opportunities for people. That's been great. The amount of employees that have been hired through the construction part of that, and all that kind of stuff. It's just been it's been really cool to see for us to have a front seat to cheer you on and say, hey man, keep going. And it hasn't been easy. That COVID was a challenge. I mean, from a construction standpoint, from a fundraising standpoint, but golly, it's been a great partnership. When we come down here and bring somebody over, Bridget and I, we say what we had hoped this would turn out to be when we sat down and said, yeah, we think this is a good idea, to what it is now. We never dreamed that in 9 years or 8 years of partnering with you guys that you'd be able to accomplish this.
So here's what I want to say before he takes his seat, to him and Bridget both, and to Randall. When you have people who are willing to invest in some ways, somewhat blindly, because you don't know how this is going to turn out, right? We've crafted things on paper, they were sound, so we thought, but you still don't know how this is going to turn out.
Can we tell the story of, like, sorry to detour here, but I think we had just started on that first house. We put an air conditioner in, and I get a phone call from Andre on a Sunday morning, Saturday morning, and he was like, hey, man, and I could tell, and I'm like, oh, man, we, like, just started. Like, what? He's calling me on a weekend. He's like, somebody stole our air conditioner. And I'm like, oh, no, that, okay. And he's like, so, and I'm like, well, what does that mean? He's like, we got to get another one. And I'm like, how much is that? He's like, 10 grand. I'm like, 10 grand? We don't have 10 grand. And I said, well, he goes, but we're going to get it. We're going to put it on the roof, and we're going to send a statement to the people that we are here, and we are here to stay, and you are not going to push us out. And I was like, all right. Well, go ahead and do that. We'll figure it out. I like the boldness. I like that. And I think he thought we were going to run. And that was, but that's what's been cool about this is like you're not going to hit a home run on every pitch. There's going to be some things, and we understand that, and we're here to support through that. And we put that air conditioner on the stinking roof, and nobody's messed with it ever since, to our knowledge. But he sent me a video on that Sunday morning, dressed up and getting ready to go preach, and they had the crane they were putting up there, and he was like, I know you're watching, whoever did that, and we're not going anywhere. And he sent that to me, and and we're okay with that. We're okay with the messiness and sometimes it's not perfect because we understand that and I think that's why it's been such a great relationship.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up as I get ready to say this because that's a hard thing to do, right? To tell somebody that in the start of the relationship something's going sideways. You know, I kind of sat there on the steps of the back of the house and just looked like, I can't believe. I mean, they dug the cage out, which took time. You know, we had cement on it. I thought we were good. And to see that when you come to church, it was like, wow, happy Sunday morning. And I'm shaking when I make the call because, like I said, I'm thinking, how do I say this? Then finally, I was just like, you know what? We're just going to rip the Band-Aid off. Look, it's gone. It ain't coming back.
It's probably next door for like $50.
We got to figure this out, but we're not going anywhere. And I'm grateful that you stayed. I'm grateful the crossing has stayed. So I was curious about something today, and I emailed our accountant. I said, can you just give me roughly what has Brace given so that these 12 homes that they've done, these almost 25 families that you all have allowed us to impact, this over 50 children that we've been able to speak into their lives. What is that? And they sent it back. So before I say it out loud, I want to ask you, is it okay to say it out loud if you want? And I knew it was significant, right? You know? And this has been a busy day. I'm driving around. I pull over and open my phone up, count sent, and I looked at it. 2.5,006,312. Now, I don't know about y'all, but for me, that's a whole lot of money. To put in a place where you don't necessarily live. You care about our region. I get that. And I'm grateful that you all do. Crossing has been significant in that way as well. But to do it in a place where you don't live because you want to see it for the greater good to help families and children, I'm blown away by that. And it hasn't always been easy. One story we can't get into, we've been in certain rooms where people were just downright rude and mean. And before I could even address it, he did. And let it be known that this won't be tolerated, and if that's who you are, we won't deal with you. You don't find that every day. You just don't. And so my hat is off to you and to Bridget. Thank you for everything that you all have allowed us to do today. Ladies and gentlemen, give Kyle a hand. Thank you, Kyle. So, you hear this story, and we had a family that was going to be here tonight, but one of the children got sick, and so Mom, let us know. She's like, I need to be Mom. We're like, absolutely. And so we asked our housing relationship coordinator to step in because she does amazing work with the families that are in our AARP program. So what Brace for Impact Funds is called Affordable Rental Program. It's an on-ramp to stabilization for many families that are homeless or facing homelessness. And that's the family, that's Miss Nikita, who wanted so much to be with us this evening but could not. And they help families like that change their lives. Well, it takes somebody to be there with them, right? And Miss Anitra is new to our team in one sense. She started in December. She ended our crazy in December of last year. And she is awesome. And, in one sense, she wears that mother's hat, right? But then in the other sense, she wears that business hat. And so she cuts no slack. I love it. I get to sit back and smile. But I asked if she would come for a few minutes this evening so you can hear what it's like working with the families that we serve who call this neighborhood home. So please help me welcome Miss Anitra Williams up. So first off, I want to say those are some nice looking shoes. You can I? Oh, I was gonna ask could I borrow, but it doesn't look like my foot is gonna fit. So you can give me a pair. All right, I'll take it. I'll take that. So first off, thank you
Thank you.
for doing all that you do, and I want to start with this first question, and that is, call it now, 11 months, almost at a year. What has it been like for you working with the families in our program day in and day out? If you give some insight to that.
I would say that it has truly been a blessing. It has been insightful and very enlightening to service our families, to help them navigate this thing called housing, being underhoused or unhoused. And it's been a pleasure, Pastor Andre. I thank you for the opportunity to be here.
So with that, let's dig. So tell me about, of course we can't give names, but a family that, like right now, they bring you joy because of what you're seeing happen. Meaning they came and life was this, and now life is not perfect, but there's shifting, there's growth, there's stability happening. Tell, if you will, a story or two.
I would say with the 15 families that we currently service, that I have seen growth since I've been here with each family, just to see them start out in one place, and I would say evolve to where they are now in such a short span. Again, it's very enlightening. They are hopeful, they are encouraged, they are on fire to see growth in their families. And the things that we do here at TCDC enables them to do that. They are very forgive me because it's emotional, because when you see individuals, I've done social service work for over 30 years, and to see individuals not have basic needs and those needs to be met, it does something. It pulls at the heartstrings. And what TCDC allows us to do is to give them hope when there is no hope. Because when your basic needs aren't met, you can't have hope. And that's what we do here at TCDC. We grant our families hope. We grant them the opportunities that each and every one of us have here in this room, and that is hope.
So, yeah, I think that, yeah. So I will tell you what has been encouraging for me is, as you talk about families evolving and seeing what I call the joy come back. Because a lot of times when a family is moving in, they've been through so much, and to get to that point has taken a lot of work, a lot of dedication, and so to see the joy come back. And I get to see it a little bit more from a peripheral now, because we do have a team. When we first started, there was me and then there was me. And so, I was the construction manager, I was the caseworker, I was the deal negotiator, whatever it was. And then after that was our good friend, Ron Tedder, who became a part of our team and served well and then passed unexpectedly. So that was a blow. And then came, Alicia and then Ebony and then Marge and then Daisha. And so watching things evolve from afar, seeing the lights come on for people is amazing. Having said that, if you don't mind though, because it's also eventful, okay? There's never a dull moment around here. If you having a dull day, come and we can make sure that we bring some excitement to your life. Talk a little bit about what it's like sometimes to work with that challenging parent, because I've been doing things one way for a long time, and now change. That nasty word change. And a None of us like change. Let's just be honest, okay? All of us like who we are, don't change me. And we deal a lot with change. If you're wearing your biblical hat, it's called discipleship and spiritual maturity and growth. But it's change. So talk what it's like when you're working with somebody and coaching them into change.
From my standpoint, I have to realize that we're dealing with a mindset. And so when you are dealing from a deficit mindset for such a long time, it's hard. It's very hard. And so when you have to make the choice of paying rent, getting food for your children, transportation. Some of our families have transportation. Others rely on public transportation. And again, kudos to you, Pastor Andre, because since I've been here, and I know it's kind of off kilter, but I've watched this man go above and beyond to assist our families. A lot of our families are part of the St. Louis public school system whose transportation has not been the best. And this man here says, what can we do to ensure that the children are getting to school? So he goes out and he buys Uber rides for the children to get to school. So those parents don't have to pay for something that should be part of their education. So that is what TCDC does. Not only provide affordable housing, but we are helping the entire family, and that's the purpose of it. We have to look at the family in its totality, every child, that mother or that father, and or mother and father, and help them, meet them where they are, and help them get to where they're going. And that's what we're doing here. And again, I'm happy to be a part. I've seen growth. The family here, she came to us in March of this year, and she is on fire, and she is on track. She has a light, she said, that she hasn't had in years because of being a part of TCDC. The opportunities and the resources that we provide for them and to them and help them navigate, it helps her. And so she's encouraged. She looks forward to being a homeowner. Again, we are providing hope. So we are doing awesome work here at TCDC.
Thank you for that. So I have one final question. First off, again, thank you for all you do. I know that it's not easy. I'm grateful that all of you all are here. I tell them all the time they've added some years back to my life because when you're wearing that many hats, you're doing something, but you're not doing it well, right? And so they've added a few years back to my life, which, you know, my family greatly appreciates that. If you were to sidebar with somebody tonight, if they came up to you after this and, you know, they're like, this is great, helping families, helping children, stability. Incidentally, she's talking about the Uber ride. She came and she said, you know, Pastor, we got to do something because they having problems getting to school. So she's a bulldog when she needs to be. Let me just tell you, see this nice posture up here, and she being real polite and all of that, which is cool, and she is, but she was like, Pastor, they got to get to school. And I said, you're right, they got to get to school. And so we're going to figure this out because sometimes you need somebody to have a voice when you don't have a voice. And so we try and be that voice. She's part of giving people a voice when they don't have that voice. So having that voice, if somebody were to pull you aside later and say, you know, why should we support this? Why should we support ARP? You know, why should we help families that we may never meet? Because I say often the people who help us are helping people they may never meet this side of heaven, right? If you had a few moments and you were asked that question, how would you answer? What would you say to them as to the why they should support ARP and help families?
I would say, why wouldn't we? When we are in the space to do it, why wouldn't we? When you look at this family here, this is a mother of 3 boys who works. She works a full time job, and she also wears the full-time hat of being a mother to 3 children, and that's what our families look like. It's typically a single-parent home that's navigating multiple children. If they're having help from the absent parent, more than likely not. So if we were in those shoes, would we want someone to help us? I waste a lot of money. I go to Starbucks way too much. So what I spend in Starbucks, if I could give that to help someone to have a meal that night, why wouldn't I? We take things for liberty, and I'm not trying to be on an attack to anyone, but that's what we're called to do. We're called to give to the less fortunate and the disenfranchised. So that's why you all are here, because you all have a heart for it, or you all wouldn't be in attendance. So I just said, let your heart speak, and let us do all that we can do.
Thank you. So, rounds. Now, I'm going to hold you to my pair of shoes. I just want you to know I got several witnesses in the building. So thank you, Anitra, for sharing that. So we've been walking this timeline. I want to connect one more dot before asking our last partner and friend to come up. And so as ARP takes shape in 2017, we quickly recognized the need to bring services to where people are. You're sitting in a neighborhood where the statistics say 39% of the folks don't have cars. So if you don't have a car and you have basic needs, health care, legal, banking, etc., how do you accomplish that? Most people are trying to figure it out. We believed that we needed to create a space to make it easier for people to figure that out, i.e. the hub. It gets its name from the idea of being in the center of the community, and each partner here is a spoke off of a hub of a wheel that's reaching out to help somebody else. And so we began dreaming this in 2017, 2018, when this building was vacant and didn't look like much. We bought it, we put a roof on it, we sat on it. Things finally aligned for us to renovate this building, and we started in July 2020. I would just tell you, if God could be so kind to you, do not renovate a building in the middle of a global pandemic. If you can avoid it at all costs, please do not. Getting resources to get it done physically was a challenge. Construction teams feel they're indestructible. So when you talked about social distancing, you would have it mapped out. And then I would walk in here and everybody would be on top of everybody and high-fiving each other. Hey, we're fine. No, you are not. You're getting ready to kill us all. Separate yourselves. So it was a journey, but when we were finished in October of 2021 and could open this place up, it was an amazing thing to be able to do after all the challenges, because we knew it would serve people well. The first year it was open, it served, and we try and look at unique individuals right at 500. Last year it served over 2,300 unique individuals. And is well on pace to exceed that this year. And what it allows us to do is to serve those families who are moving in homes that you've toured. Since that time, we've now renovated a total of 28 houses. We've built 8 new ones. We've got 10 more on the way being built. In that time, we've been able to acquire more land. As me and Kyle talked about, that first house in 2016. Again, the goal was one house. I promise you it was one house. It was not. I was perfectly content with one house. I told you I wore all those hats. One house was fine. We now own 58 individual structures, homes and commercial. We have We have land rights. I won't get into all of that with the city, over 177 acres in this area to build on. Yeah. And so in 10 years, a lot has happened. And so when you have those things happen, it's good to look at and reflect on it. And it's also pretty cool to watch the partners in here working together and watching people walk up in the neighborhood and being served. And, you know, in times past, we've talked with Mercy. Mercy was one of those early adopted partners that is in here. And from that, we flowed from Mercy to Holland Law Firm, to Catholic Charities, to Good Shepherd Children and Family Services, to Pianos for People, to First Bank. And in all of that, as we are developing these relationships, one partner, Maryville University, we got a chance to meet. And first off, our family has benefited from speech therapy services for our Kendall from people who have gone to Maryville University. They rock. They are awesome. They don't make therapy feel like therapy. If anybody's ever been to therapy, you know, you dread it when you pull up. It's kind of like, let's just get this over with. But they make it so much fun. Like, I'm sometimes in my office, and I hear them working with kiddos, and I go, man, I want to go in there with them. You know, they're having a great, great time, and they're helping them evolve in their services. But they have a very strong advocate, if you will, in helping them do that. And his name is Jacob. So if you would please help me welcome Jacob up tonight. Jacob, thank you. As we get ready to wrap things, I could not let the evening get by without having you up. So not only is the work you guys do impactful and important, but you guys do it with such grace and care and joy. So as I've asked everybody, I'm going to ask you, tell us a little bit about yourself in Maryville. Now I'm going to say this. You know how on certain commercials, there's an infomercial, there's a little disclaimer at the bottom that you can barely read. So when Jacob first met me, I was not Pastor Andre. So I'm going to give his disclaimer first before he says what he's getting ready to say. It's going to make more sense in about 30 seconds, but I'm just going to put that on the record that our first encounter of being around each other, I was a different person. So please, Jacob, tell us a little bit about you, background.
My mission is to help kids. And so the partnership with the Hub gives us a chance to help kids. That's kind of what we do. We're here to help children that have communication disorders, and they're trying to find their voice. We're talking about finding voices. They're trying to find their voice, and they're really struggling. I'm up here on the stage talking to you, not that well, but talking to you, and it comes second nature to me. But a lot of children struggle with that, and they need some additional help. So that's what the Walker Scottish Rite Clinic at Maryville University does. We try to help preschool children that are trying to find their voice to achieve the communication abilities that they can achieve. I will tell you about how I met Pastor Andre since he opened that door. So I went to Mizzou. I went and I lived in a dorm called Mark Twain Hall, and I lived on the engineering floor of Mark Twain Hall. And there was an RA there, a really cool guy. He was tall, handsome, maybe a little thinner.
This is true.
I was too, a couple pants size bigger as well. But he was so cool. Me and my friends, we wanted to hang out with him quite a bit, and we would invite him come hang out with us. And he says, "Oh, I got to study. I got stuff to do." We thought he was too good for us, right? Probably too godly for us. But he had this car, license plate said, "For show." Yeah, that's how cool he was. But no, I don't have any great stories because he never would hang out with us back then. So it was pretty neat when we came back around and Ebony Shaw introduced us to the Hub. And we brought the dean in, and she's wearing her high heels, and it was a construction mess, and there was grit, and there was droppings and everything around. And I'm trying to convince this lady that this is where we need to be. And she said, yeah, you went over a lot of people. And so you made that possible for us to be here and help kids that really need it in this community.
Yeah, I think that deserves a clap. So, and they do that. They help kids. If I'm not mistaken, there's a waiting list of families who want to be served.
We do have a waiting list, but we do have the ability to expand, so we want to make sure we fill that if we can. So if you know a kid that's a preschooler that needs speech and language therapy, give us a call, and we'll get them in. It's all free. They don't have to have a referral from their doctor. They just come in and get that speech therapy.
I think that deserves a hand clap. I really do. And I wanted to make sure we made that known, because you never know who needs help. So, like you said, you know, you bring the dean in. We're trying to convince, and we had to do that a few times. Not only with Maryville, with others as well. I remember walking around Jeff Johnston and his wife. And saying why Mercy needed to be here. And, you know, I'm doing it the same like way when we were walking the dean around. I got this smile on my face. I'm energetic. And after it's over, I turn around and tears start to leak, because I'm going, if I was them, I would run. This place is a dump. I mean, but amazingly, by the grace of God, they all said yes. So I'm going to ask, if you don't mind talking a little bit about what has it been like. And if you want to share any particular story about any particular family, what has it been like since you all said yes and being here and serving people?
Well, I just want to tell you a little story about a kid. I think that's probably the easiest way to talk about it. I just got a letter the other day from a little boy's dad. His name is Michael. I can share that with you because they've been featured in a magazine article. The St. Louis American featured them in an article about the hub and what we're doing here with you all and what we're doing for the kids. So if you want to look that up, it was an article that came out in St. Louis American about Michael, but Michael struggled to be understood by his family. He couldn't get the words out. He stuttered a lot, and he also had speech problems, and he just couldn't get his ideas across to even his mom and dad. And Michael's been coming to see our therapist, Ruth, for a couple of years, and it was really neat when I got to visit with them for the article for the St. Louis American, because I got to really get to know the family, which I don't always get to do. You know, you don't always get to sit down and meet the families. And Dad came. He had just got done working overnight. He was supposed to be sleeping. He wanted to be there and share that story of his son and how he's succeeding. And the dad works 3 jobs. One of them's overnight. Mom's working, and they're just trying to make it work for their kid so he can get what he needs to be successful and to have that opportunity. Michael's dad, he just shared a letter with me, and Michael graduated last week. And now he's doing great. And the dad just wanted to say in the letter, just thank you to everybody that made that happen, to make that possible, and to say that, you know, he's doing great and he's going to have an opportunity to be whatever he wants to be, which happens to be a little model. He's going to be like a little child model. That's what he's going to do. His parents have hooked him up. He's going to be a little model. So those little stories are what keep you going. I think that keeps everybody going about each one of those kids. You never know. Maybe we'll see Michael on TV. Maybe he'll be a superstar. Maybe he'll be making a difference in the community in just a few years. You never know. So giving that child that opportunity can really just open doors. And I think we really opened the door by this partnership, another closed, and another one open right here. So we're happy to be a part of it.
Yeah. So I got a chance to hang out with Michael. He great kid, and you know, he didn't see himself as going to therapy. He saw himself as coming to be with Miss Ruth, his friend. And I think that speaks volumes about Maryville and the team that Jacob has assembled to make it that comfortable, where you know, they come through that back door if you parked on that back parking lot. We watch families come in all the time, and they're excited, you know. And Ruth will hold the door open for them, and it's like, come on, let's have some fun. And I'm like I said, I'm looking at it going, man, I wish I could take off and go in there and have some fun. But the lasting impact of that for him, now being able to have his voice, is amazing. If you don't mind, talk a little bit about if one of, like Miss Ruth was sitting here, what would be something she would want to say about the work that they do, how important it is, and why people should support it?
I think you always just have to celebrate those little wins when you're doing this type of work. It doesn't happen quickly. You don't learn to speak quickly. It takes quite a long time to improve. And so each and every day it's hard work for a kid to come and do something that is difficult for them. And you have to motivate them for, like you said, you do it through games and through play. And you do it just so that they want to come back and they want to be here and they want to succeed, even though they don't know what they're doing. And so I think Ruth would say that the reason that she does the work, Ruth was one of our graduate students who came through. She then went on somewhere else, came back, and because she wanted to do this type of work, where she's making a difference for people that really need it, and where she can help someone that doesn't have the opportunity to grow. And I think that's the reason that she comes back every week, so that she can make those little wins, and to ultimately, see those kids like Michael who can just graduate from the program, or to at least get them to where they can have their voice be heard.
Awesome. Last thing, Maryville making great impact. I watched you when we finished renovating their space, moving the furniture in, setting up stuff for his team. He worked diligently, pulled his van in backwards, lifted it up, unloaded. Worked nonstop to make sure that everything would be in place and that it would be a quality space. One of the things I love about Maryville and all of our partners, if you didn't get a chance, I hope many of you did, if you hadn't before, I had a chance to tour this building. When you look in their spaces, this isn't the leftovers. This is quality space that you would find anywhere in St. Louis. And the thing I love about it is we didn't have to say, meet a standard. They came with the standard. We didn't have to coach and say, well, it needs to look like this. And I watched Jacob go above and beyond to make sure that this space was warm and welcoming for families, for children, so they would feel comfortable getting on the floor and learning. And so kudos to you for doing that. Here's my final question. If you were sidebar tonight and someone said, hey, why should we pour into this? Why should we give to this? What would you say from your perspective?
I think this was touched on before, but if I were in a similar situation, I would have people there that I could rely on. Not many people know this about me, but my family was homeless for like a couple months one summer. We had a house that we were renting, it was sold out from under us. And I didn't know we were homeless. We went and lived with somebody. My parents had, I've never told this before, but my parents had a bed set up in somebody's dining room. I lived on a kid's floor for a couple months. But we had somebody that was willing to let us do that. And they gave us a leg up when we didn't have it. And then we got a house because an old farmer had just moved out of his house. I grew up in a rural spot. An old farmer had just moved out of his house and said, you can rent my house. I just moved to town. So if I need it and somebody's there to help me, and I don't even realize that they're helping me, and I go to college and I meet you and I get to stand on stage and pretend like I'm something, but everybody needs that help. Everybody needs that leg up. everybody needs that support system, and what we're building here is that support system. And I think that's amazing what you're doing with this, is talking to Darius, we're talking about what we can do together. Ebony knows everybody. If I want to talk to somebody, Ebony can connect me with them. So that's what we're doing here, is making those connections so that we can have that support system for people that really need it.
Thank you for that. Ladies and gentlemen, Jacob, thank you for hanging with us. So we're going to wrap. We're going to get ready to go. It's getting close to that time. And I need to do a couple things. First thing, really quick. My wife is floating around. She has our daughter. They may have left already. But if you would help me, don't pull her in, because you still here. Okay, I didn't know. Would you help me celebrate her? Because there's no 10 years without her, my wife. Please. Thank you. She's from this neighborhood, Sullivan, and then over by the water tower and all of that. And so this is home for her and home for us. I often say this, there would be no me without this neighborhood. My parents met, dated, got married, living in this community. So there is no Pastor Andre if this didn't exist. Second thing I want to do is I want to ask you to give me a round for all of our partners in this building. We couldn't have them all up here tonight, but they're all in this building with us tonight. So could you give a hand to all of them for helping us make this what it is? So here's the last thing. As we get ready to go, I believe we've got cupcakes and stuff for you as we get ready to part. This is the part where you get to join in with us. We have been graced with a supporter who wants to stay anonymous, who says from now up through October 31st that they will match every dollar we raise up to $100,000. Yeah, that's worth clap. And so we're going to ask, all of you have envelopes. You may not be an envelope person, that's okay. You may be an online person or a text person. Here's what our ask is. For you to consider supporting this, whether it's one time, whether it's creating a monthly gift, however you see fit, but we believe it's worth supporting. Here's why. I'm going to give you a couple of things. Number one, if you walked around here, you saw renderings of different things, different homes. You also saw some renderings for a part two to this building. Believe it or not, we have all the space we have for partners, we have officially leased up. Our plan said 3 to 5 years it would take. It happened in 10 months. Yeah. It happened in 10 months. We didn't expect that. Where First Bank is, believe it or not, used to be our storage. So when they came, they said, do you got room? I said, yes. We've got room. And then when they walked away, I said, okay, we got to move this stuff. Well, Pastor, where are we moving it? I don't know, but it's got to get out of the way. And so we were fortunate enough to purchase another space to create storage. So we have that. But we're looking to add on to this building because there's still way more amazing work to do and way more amazing partners to add into this work. And so if you haven't, take a peek. That's our plan. That's what we're looking to do. That's one thing. The second thing is some of you got a chance. How many of you got a chance to tour homes, see houses? Don't they look great? Yeah, don't they look? And I will tell you something. We can't build them or renovate them fast enough because people want them. That's a good thing. We're building community back. And so a second phase of that looks at another street that is in similar situation that we want to bring change to, bring hope to. And so your efforts will support that. And then lastly, your efforts will support us being able to continue to do the work that we currently do, which is we have now, and Kyle hinted at this, one of the things we did not see coming was the workforce piece of this and the jobs that have been created through construction. We have now, year to date, created 167 construction jobs. And we have some people who have worked nonstop with us since 2017. In the construction industry, that is unheard of. So you know we got some visits from some of our union friends as they've seen that happen, wanting to know how we do it, and we just say we're nice to people, and they like staying around. I mean, there's no magic pill. If you treat people well, they tend to want to stay around. And so we've been able to do that. So your support tonight helps us to continue to do that, because that's 167 families that are being impacted, lives that are being changed forever, and they're building back. And many of them either live around in this neighborhood or from this neighborhood, and this is their way of giving back. So that's my spiel. Again, I want to say lastly, thank you for coming out tonight and spending some time with us. Please do me a favor. Whatever treats they have, take one. Because if you don't take one, take your envelope and take your treat. If you don't take the treat, then I'm going to be forced to eat what you don't take. And Jacob already told on me, I'm not as slim as I used to be. So please help me share and partake in the treats. If you can't have a treat, take it with you and give it to somebody who can. All right? Okay. Have a great evening. God bless you. Thank you for coming to Evening of Hope. We pray safe travels over you tonight.